I'm amazed at still the bargains that are available out there, how much plane you can buy for literally $16. That's what I paid for this number 5C Jack Plane. And so I'm just going to show you how I cleaned it up. First thing I did, just as sort of a precaution, is I just checked it for square. The sides are super square, super flat sides, super flat bottom. Basically came out of the box looking just like this. I felt that all it really needed was a kind of a cosmetic cleanup, and to strip down the tote and the knob. They were kind of beat up, but they were both hardwood, rosewood, so really high quality tote and knob. And just with a little bit of stripping with lacquer thinner and a new coat of lacquer, they both came back just perfectly. And so basically I just started disassembling the plane and wanted to go through the little checklist to kind of find out what type number it was and what year it was built. So as I started pulling it apart just to get a better view of the body of the plane, I honestly, again, $16. The chip breaker was very clean. The blade was very clean. Lots and lots of life left. The chip breaker, the edge of the chip breaker, where it meets the blade, was very flat, even though I flattened it a little bit further. The lever cap was in perfect condition. Again, these were hardwood knob and tote. I just needed a little brass polish for the bolts that hold those down. The frog was in good shape. The brass adjusting knob was in great shape. The plane was in really, really, really good shape for $16. I mean, a number 5 Jack Plane is just that. It's a jack of all trades. It's a great plane to start with. You can do everything or anything with a Jack Plane. You could put a slight camber in the blade and use it for removing or shaping wood early on in the process, and then you can put a flat blade in it and use it for smoothing. You can use it as sort of a short jointer. They're just really jack of all trades planes. And this one was in remarkably great shape considering the price that I got it for. So, I have this little checklist where you kind of zero things down to find out what year they are, what type they are. And the first question it asks is, are there any patent numbers behind the frog? And the answer is no. So after you see that answer is no, it says, do you see a raised ring around where the knob and tote go? And the answer was yes on that. And then it asks you, is the bed painted blue? And the answer was no to that. Then it says, is there a raised rib at the front and back of the body? And the answer to that was yes. So it's getting narrowed down to a type 16 through 19. Then it said, is Stanley imprinted vertically on the lateral adjusting level? And the answer to that is no. It's not printed vertically. So then it asks the question, does the depth adjusting knob have diagonal knurling on it? And the answer to that was no. They were straight knurling. And then you get down, do you see cheap wartime features like painted handles or plastic adjustment levers? And the answer is no. And so it narrows this plane down to a type 16, 1933 to 1941. That's sort of a fun, quick way to determine the age of the plane. So I just continued taking it apart. It was dirty, but that's all, just dirt. Honestly, the Japanning was in fabulous condition. almost totally complete, front to back. The brass adjustment wheel was in great shape. The frog was in great shape. All the screws that weren't mashed up at all, so they would clean up very well. For the body of the plane, just because it was just really surface dirt, I've always found that just denatured alcohol works the best. I just take like a glue brush with denatured alcohol and just sort of, in some ways, sort of scrub it down with denatured alcohol. The beauty of denatured alcohol is that it's the fumes aren't a big deal. It evaporates quickly and kind of goes away. It's not too powerful so as to remove or soften the japanning, but it deals with the dirt, and it deals with grease left behind and things like that. So I've found that it's a great way of doing just a surface cleaning of the Japan surface and just getting into little nooks and crannies to get things clean. So that's what I did next, is just a kind of a surface cleanup. Sort of check the frog for flatness, how flat and smoothly the blade rests against the frog, and I have to say it was nearly, I'll say nearly perfect. I did spend just a few minutes, but just minutes, sanding against that surface just to maybe take any little burrs out of it. Cleaned up the chip breaker, cleaned up the lever cap, was in really good shape. The nickel plating was in really, really good shape, no pitting. The blade didn't have any big chips in it. Again, I'll just go back $16. I mean, it's like, how can you go wrong? So here's now just cleanup. These are what the brass looked like when I got it. Here's what the brass looked like after just like 30 seconds on a wheel. Not totally important at all to the function of the plane, but it sure makes them look nicer. The lever cap, you can drive out these pins in the frog. You can drive out the pins in the frog to take that yoke off and to take the lateral adjusting off. But I never like doing that, because when you drive them out, you just never know if they're going to go in tight and secure again. So by just moving that lateral adjustment sort of out of the way, you can sand these flat surfaces, both left and right sides of the frog, to, again, all I was trying to do here is maybe remove any little burr, any little kind of rough edge. It wasn't like a major flattening because it was already flat. Again, just because it was apart, because it was easy, I just spent a few minutes on those two surfaces to kind of ensure that the blade would fit very smoothly and flat against the face of the frog. This is just 220 wet and dry sandpaper on a piece of glass to ensure flatness. The mating surfaces of the frog to the plane body are fairly important. You don't want the frog to rock or be kind of unstable on the body. I'm not saying that it was the case with this plane, but with a little bit of, this is a compound used for grinding valves, like in a car. It's just a compound with grit in it and kind of an oil base grit. And I put that on the two surfaces and just rub them together where the surfaces meet. I have to say, honestly, I doubt it made any difference whatsoever, but I thought I have it apart. The whole thing takes just a few minutes. Why not try to make that surface mating as perfect as possible. Here is the chip breaker. Again, it's important that the chip breaker fit kind of airtight against the blade, because if there is a gap between the blade and the chip breaker, sometimes chips or thin pieces of wood can get stuck in that joint. And so it's nice to make that edge very, very flat. And it's nice that the lever cap be very, very flat where it presses against the chip breaker and the blade. Again, in this plane, this $16 plane, none of those things were an issue. Then I spent just a few minutes on the sides and on the bottom of the plane. Again, not at all to think I was truing them or leveling them. I think they were perfect from the get-go. I did this mostly just to clean them and to give them a little more brightness. Came to the knob and the tote. I cleaned them with lacquer thinner, put some dark stain on them, and shot them with nitrocellulose lacquer. Once those were done, I reassembled the plane, putting the knob and the tote back on with those nicely shined up brass attachments. It makes the plane look really good. It just kind of instills a little pride in the plane. It only takes minutes to accomplish, and it just makes a lot of difference on the way the plane looks when it's finished. Just put the plane back together real quickly here. I've sped this up a little bit. I obviously took the blade over to Tormac, kind of reground the bevel, ground a micro bevel in it, went to a diamond stone and did a finish sharpening. And this is a great looking and a great, I will add, great performing plane for $16. You can see that the chips coming off of this, or the feathery wood coming off of this, is super thin, super uniform, super clean. It's a great smooth running plane. Put a little paste wax on the bottom of the plane just to make it glide over the wood. This is a very, very impressive jack plane for $16. Here's just some shots of the plane, just shined up some of those parts to make them just look a little bit better. The bottom came out really nice after that light sanding. The sides came out nice. I think the knob and the tote look like a million. Got a nice shine, a nice deep dark red look. There's the front knob with that shiny brass and cleaned up Japanning. Great markings on the plane. Turned out to be a very nice jack plane for $16. Here it is kind of lined up with the planes above it and below it. And thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Thanks again.